Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see what if Issei is adopted by Gabriel. Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Our favorite Joker was setting a red and white picnic blanket on the grass beneath the forbidden tree, also putting an array of desserts on several plates, taking his time to prepare everything. While the meal itself was already prepared, the troublesome part was preparing the small chocolate fountain and setting everything in such a way that would impress the Seraph he was planning to court. Issei had been Gabriel's Joker for 5 years if his memory didn't fail him, and he enjoyed every moment of it. Spending his years on the training grounds and in heaven, the young Joker now had an odd family that consisted on a mother and Dragon King, an SS-class stray devil as a sister, and the world's strongest female exorcist as his aunt. However, such skills would not help him court the Seraph he had fallen for. After several minutes of carefully putting everything in a way that would put the best chefs to shame, he admired his work. With the chocolate fountain in the center, it was surrounded by strawberries, marshmallows and other goodies. On the left, there was a plate that had an array of fruits cut in several methods, let it be sliced or diced, a handful of toothpicks on the side. Finally, on the right was a blue box with white details, said contents unknown. He left his attire for last, quickly changing from his robes to a flannel and jeans. After several weeks of planning, I finally got it. Now, to wait for her and hope things turn out well, the young Joker said, before taking a seat. It was a matter of minutes before his Seraph arrived, though in a different attire. Opting for a white sundress and a pair of heels, Gabriel went towards him, only to stop after seeing what he prepared for her. Issei, you didn't have to do all of this, she said, looking at him. You're right, I shouldn't. However, I can only give the best for my king, he says, wrapping his arms around her, both of them now at eye level. For the past 5 years, Issei usually was in her arms as he began his stay in heaven, only to return to Kyoto a couple years later. With a growth spurt, now he could see her eye to eye instead of her looking down. Earning a small blush from her, he smiled softly as she reciprocated the hug. You pamper me too much, she said, before breaking the hug, sitting on the picnic blanket with the help of the young angel, before he proceeded to do the same. What do you want to try out first? Let's start with the chocolate fountain, it's been a while since I've had chocolate, she said, as he grabbed a stick with a sharp point that was used for food. Quickly putting a small cake ball on it, she covered it in chocolate, eating it time later. You've outdone yourself, Ice. We're barely beginning, Gabby, he teased, making her chuckle as he began eating with her, the two catching up after not seeing each other for several weeks. Putting the fountain aside, Issei brought out a deck of playing cards, smiling as he began shuffling. Issei, gambling is a sin, she said, testing him. Not quite. The problem is gambling money or resources you do not own. In the case of people, it must be with their consent, and resource-based are acceptable, so as long as they are within reach, same goes with tarot, he said, smiling. Besides, this is simply a game of 21, maybe see who has the better poker face, Milady, he added, dealing 2 cards each, one face up, one face down. Oh, I see. Hit me, Gabriel said, after checking her face down, despite the fact that her face up was oh so conveniently the king of hearts. Alright, didn't know you knew the basic terms of playing cards, he said, handing her the top card in the deck, which happened to be the ace of diamonds. You have to know the basics when it comes to the Brave Saints deck and the terms in playing cards, she said, giving him her trademark smile. Makes sense. I'll take the next card, my king, he said, getting the ace of spades. Hit me, she said, sighing as she got the queen of spades. It got worse when Issei flipped his face down card, showing a blackjack insisting on a 6, 4 and ace, all in spades. You win this time, Issei. I'll deal now, she said, dealing. While her Joker had a face-up ace of diamonds, she had a face-up 6 of spades. She quickly flipped his face-down card, which turned out to be the 10 of clubs. I don't like this game, she said, putting the cards back in the deck. How about poker? He asked, grabbing the deck and shuffling it quickly. Easy to pick up, difficult to master due to what happens before the cards are shown. Read a story of a man who broke the dealer who had everything in his favor until the other players bluff. Apparently, the dealer had 4 kings and a 5 of spades if I'm not wrong, while the other player had a useless hand, didn't even bother to check his hand. All in all, you won't always win with the highest hand, but rather, by also making the player declare defeat before the hands are shown, he added, dealing them both 5 cards. I think I will throw in a card, she said, her hand now reduced to 4. I think I'll be treating myself to 4 cards, he said, putting 4 cards over the card Gabriel threw in and drawing 4. The pity, dead man's hand, he said, showing her an ace and 8 of spades, jack and 4 of hearts, and the 5 of diamonds. Then I guess a pair would have been enough, she said, showing him a 3 of a kind, composed of a 9 of hearts, diamonds and clubs. Guess this is your game, so to say, he countered, shuffling the deck. So, what was it about a trip to Kyoto? I heard Marana and Aunt Griselda talk about it a while ago, he added, looking at his Seraph as he dealt them 5 cards each. Oh, it is to gain the favor of the Yokai and Shinto factions. Your residence there has helped, but we feared conflict due to your Japanese heritage, which could lead us to your loss, she said, sadness evident. He couldn't really blame her for the reason they couldn't go to the main cities his home country had to offer. After all, he had gotten quite attached to his family and fellow angels. Putting a hand on hers, he looked at her. It's okay, Gabriel, I understand. If the scenario you feared came to be, then I would not be here with you right now, he adds, leaving the cards aside as he was now sitting beside her, his hands still holding hers before he wrapped a white wing around her. Ice, why are you the one comforting me? It should be the other way around, she said, tears welling up. Maybe, maybe not, but the Seraph-Angel relationship should never be one-sided. You may protect us, make sure we have a smile on your face, but who protects you? Who takes it as their personal task to make sure you are always smiling, always safe? I will do so without a doubt, Milady. I, with the power of the card I have been given, the abilities Albion Soul provides, and the flaming sword, vow to protect you in an unconditional manner. If you smile, I will smile as well. If you cry, I shall wipe your tears. And if the day arrives where your face is adorned with rage, then I will do what I can to soothe it, maintaining this relationship we have, and maybe go beyond, he says, before he looked at her. She looked into his now blue eyes, seeing nothing but warmth in them. Smiling softly, she wrapped an arm around him, an action he returned. Better? He whispered, slowly pressing her against him. Better. There we go, Gabby. Now, how about we go back to putting the fountain to good use, he asked, bringing the fountain and treats near the two. How could I refuse, she said, breaking the embrace. The two continued to eat an array of chocolate-covered delicacies, giggling here and there as they enjoyed each other's company. However, Issei had an idea. Grabbing a strawberry, he coated most of it in chocolate before bringing it close to her mouth. Smiling at this, she took a bite from it, only to blush when he finished the rest of it. That was quite tasty, he said, a slightly devious look on his face. Ice, would you please feed me? She asked, giving her a pleading look he could not refuse. Grabbing another strawberry and coating it in chocolate, he brought it to her mouth, watching her eat it bit by bit. This continued for several minutes, both of them enjoying every second of it. After putting everything away, the two proceeded to leave fourth heaven, heading to her room to continue their jedijither. Gabriel's room, hearts building, first heaven. After an uneventful walk, the two were enjoying each other's company, holding hands as they sat next to each other on the bed. Gabriel, there's something I forgot to give you, something we didn't bother opening, he said, bringing out the mysterious box from the picnic. Issei, is this for me? She asked, looking into his eyes. Yes, Milady, he answered, putting it on her lap. Quickly opening the box, she looked at the contents in complete awe. The box's contents was none other than a golden necklace that had several sapphires. The highlight of the necklace was none other than the cross, which was actually a smaller upside-down replica of the flaming sword. Ice, where did you get this? She asked. An old friend, he answered. Do you want me to help you put it on? Yes, please, she said, before lifting her hair enough to give him space to help her put on the necklace. A few seconds later, the necklace was now around her neck. It looks beautiful on you, Milady, he says, blushing slightly. Why thank you, she said, bringing him in for a hug. While in their embrace, the two ended up laying on the bed, looking into their eyes as their faces were millimeters away. Issei, should I? No, Gabriel, I don't mind. In fact, I've been thinking of this moment for quite a while, he answered, running a hand through her hair. Over the years, there were times where he would dream of having her in his arms and kissing her, spending his time with her, and in a much less frequent situation, a dream where it was him, his Seraphin wife, and their child. But, reality was a whole different issue, and it was at this moment where he thought now or never. The young Joker closed a gap in between the two, delivering a simple, but full of love kiss. After several seconds, they looked into each other's eyes. Ice, that was my first kiss, she said, slightly shocked at what just happened. I'm sorry, Lady Gabriel, I do not know what took over, but he said, only to be interrupted as she pressed her finger against his lips, silently ordering him to be quiet. I never did say that I was annoyed, nor that I did not feel the same for you, she said, teasing him. You're everything and much more, Lady Gabriel, he teased in return. No more of that, only when we are in a situation that requires a professional relationship, such as business, she said, before sitting in his lap, which earned a healthy blush from him. Gabriel, why are you sitting in my lap? He stammered. Well, you spent a considerable amount of time sitting in mine the first 2 years you spent here in heaven, I believe it is time for you to pay up. Besides, I feel safe in your arms, she said, with her innocent smile as she wrapped his arms around her, something he didn't really object to. I could get used to this, Gabby, he said, his blush dying down as her back was against his chest. So could I, my joker. So could I, she answered, the two spending the rest of their time together in a comfortable silence. Azazel's office, Grigori headquarters, Underworld. In his office stood Azazel, bepising the papers in a folder. There was more information concerning Issei compared to 5 years ago when the accident occurred. Raising a brow at the detailed description Kalwerner provided, he chuckled as he kept on reading. He believed the two would get along when he decided to present himself to the child, maybe earn something out of their friendship as a bonus. But there was one problem. The rumors concerning the rogue fallen. Despite the current ceasefire, he knew that it would only take a meaningful death to begin everything. With rumors of two heiresses from important pillars of the underworld and also sisters to the Mayu, he could already imagine Kuo painted with a bullseye. It got worse knowing that Issei was an angel, a very important one at that. However, he had to make sure this child was alive, the devils had their extremely powerful siblings anyways. Heading up, he made his way around the Grigori, occasionally waving at a fallen here and there. Upon reaching his room, he changed his attire to a polarized trench coat, matching pants and combat boots, finishing it off with a pair of goggles. Vanishing into a seal, his room became empty in a flash. Mount Azov, Russia. There was a good reason as to why he had to change his attire. The dreadful and treacherous weather. This snowy region had claimed many lives, and those who made it back alive described a ghost in the snow, quickly vanishing before they could reach out to the figure. While he was one of the most powerful beings the Grigori had to offer, he didn't want to test his luck and reach his destination dead. After a while walking, he arrived at a cave, going in and taking a breather. It had been a while since the last time he was in Russia, let alone these parts. If his memory didn't fail him, the last time he was here was during the Crimean War, meeting two strange figures, one from each faction. However, the first figure's whereabouts were currently unknown, though he was here for the second person. Moving on, he left the cave and kept on walking through the blizzard, slowly falling to his knees after a few hours. He chuckled as he remembered the parting words of the individual the last time they saw each other. I'll come to you, not the other way around. As he remembered these words, a blue hand reached out to him, helping him get up after he took it. Quickly making it out of the snowstorm with an insane speed from the unknown helper, the two reached a cabin, quickly entering to escape the snow. Thanks, it's been a while, Azazel said, smirking as he saw the mysterious being, who happened to be a woman. Blue skin, white hair, and dressed in a long war coat that ended between her knees and her ankles, red lipstick, a set of black heels finishing off the look. Yes indeed. Now Azazel, what brought you here? She asked, taking a seat as Azazel's attire was now his usual. Well, there is a certain somebody I need you to spy on, keep me updated, he said, bringing out a folder. What are your closest allies doing that you require my help? Issei and Kalwerner are undercover, trying to find the traitor among the Grigori, and Shemhazai and Barakiel have their own duties. You do know that I am all but cheap, she said, a smile adorning her face. So I've been told, he countered, handing her the folder. She went through it, taking her time to bepise the information he provided. After a while, she put the folder aside, looking at him. Where can I find this child, Azazel? She asked, with sweet smile. In Cancun, Mexico, my lovely Azov, he said, looking into her eyes. Gabriel's room, 6th heaven. The day before Azov's meeting. The devils and other supernatural beings had called both angels and fallen birds, due to a good reason. Their wings. Sadly, with great wings comes great responsibility in the form of wing maintenance, which was far trickier than with the wings most supernatural beings had. Preening, the term used for birds maintaining their wings with their beaks. However, some had seen it as mundane as something between friends. However, others had seen it as an act of trust between friends, family, and in rare occasions, angel and seraph. However, this case was between lovers, an intimate act of sorts. While doing this, they would talk about upcoming events, the current situation of things, etc. Do you think someone will try to interfere in our upcoming trips? Issei asked, pulling out a feather from Gabriel's right wing as he played some music in the background. The spy at the most, but no one silly enough to face us head on. If he or she does that, the cover is blown and all progress made can backfire, my love, she said, smiling as he kept going. I love it when you call me that, despite the fact that we've only been dating for a few weeks, he said, finishing up on her 6th right wing, before beginning with her 6th left, and taking his time to remove the loose feathers, as the music got a bit louder. Issei, what does this song mean? Gabriel asked, looking at him. He stopped removing feathers at this as the music kept playing, with him making his way towards her. Despite being a tribute to a former band member, this is a song is also used for people who are former shells of themselves. As to why I began to hear it. A reference here, an ability there, Issei answered, taking a pause. Oh. But, it's alright. Let's turn this thing off, he said, turning off the stereo and finishing up, getting a bottle of clear liquid and applying it on her wings. Like that ice, she said, feeling as he began massaging her wings to get the liquid in every nook and cranny her 12 wings had to offer. I aim to please, my love, and done. He said, watching as she despawned her wings, allowing him to hug her, back against his chest. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a kimono, Gabby, he added, kissing her neck as he held her hands. And I look forward to looking at you dressed in that white and blue kimono your mother told me about, my faithful dragon, she teased, earning a small chuckle from him. You know I love that nickname along with the others you've given me, he replied, looking into her eyes before kissing her. Feeling a bit adventurous, Gabriel turned so her chest was against his, as she gently pushed him down on the bed with her on top. Oh my, I didn't know you were this naughty, he said, teasing as he kissed her cheek. Ice. Gabriel pouted, earning another kiss from him. You started it, he said, smiling softly. So, should we rest up to get some early breakfast before going to Kyoto? He asked. Yes please, she answered, making him set her on the bed before he went to the closet, grabbed a shirt and pajama pants and went to the bathroom to change, leaving her alone in the room. While he changed, she went over to the jewelry box which actually had their small valuables. She smiled and put the necklace Issei had given her time ago, before putting it next to Lucifer's Pentecostal coin and the necklace Issei's father had given to his son, in a manner she did not know of. Not giving it much thought as she had done many times before, she lay in bed, waiting for him after she wore her nightgown. Ready for bed, my love? Issei asked, now in his sleepwear as he got in bed with her, spooning her and smiling as he kissed her cheek. Yes, Ice, she said, watching as he wrapped 2 wings around her, one being an angel wing with blue at the tips of the feathers on the outer sides. Good night, Gabriel, he said, holding her hand as he fell asleep. Good night, Ice, she replied, sleep slowly taking over. 1,234,567,890 to 0987654321234567890098765212345678900432678904032,234,567,890. The next day came by quickly, with them preparing themselves for their trip to Kyoto. Gabriel's hair had been done up with a kanzashi, while her kimono was white with a gold obi, unlike Issei's, which was white with a design that was quite different compared to his yukata, the blue obi keeping it in place. Looking over at him, she watched as he was putting the flaming sword in a sheath before putting away in a pocket dimension. Are you ready, Gabriel? He asked, holding her hand. Whenever you are, she answered, as the two vanished in a cross of light. Yaokai Grounds, Kyoto, Japan. The couple had arrived in the middle of Kyoto, watching the Yaokai walk around as they were in the supernatural district. Slowly making their way to Yasaka's shrine, where the legendary leader of the Yaokai awaited them, along with Amaterasu, leader of the Shinto Trinity. Honey, I have an idea, Issei said, holding her hand as the two made they observed the people of Kyoto. And that would be? Gabriel asked, slowly getting closer to him. If everything goes well today, we could treat ourselves to the local cuisine and activities, or we could enjoy the beach, given how the weather currently is in Kuo, he answered, kissing her hand as they kept on walking, eventually reaching the gates as they stopped holding hands. Good morning. We were invited to the palace on behalf of Yasaka, Issei said, showing them an invitation which had the signature and royal seal of the Yaokai, something only the highest authorities and members of royalty could give. Sharing a look, they stood aside, allowing the couple entry once a beautiful woman arrived. Blonde hair, matching foxtails and ears, and with a yellow kimono made of the finest silk, this woman was none other than the leader of the Yaokai faction. Thank you for notifying me of the arrival of our guests, I shall personally escort them to the conference room, Yasaka said, giving them a soft smile before the trio made their way to a small building. Upon opening the door, the two were greeted with a chabudai, Japanese short-legged table, several cushions and a tea set. Jasmine? Issei asked, earning a small glare from Gabriel, only to earn a giggle from Yasaka. Indeed, a personal favorite of mine, she answered, before the three entered a seiza, kneeling, position. Shall we begin our treaty? Yasaka asked, earning a nod from Gabriel. Hours passed as the two talked, all while Issei observed. He heard things about letting exorcists being able to offer their services, so as long as said exorcists did not violate the rules in the treaty, and their services were only involved with the 3 factions, such as hunting down stray devils and rogue exorcists. He also picked up things concerning special permissions in terms of certain regions, trading, etc. However, his sight became hazy, and all of a sudden, everything went black. 1. 2 Incident. Hell's throne room. Waking up, Issei saw Lucifer on his throne, only for the deceased Mau to motion him to get closer. "Issei, we need to talk," he said. "What is it, Lucifer?" Issei asked, sitting on the floor. "I will be leaving, for reasons I cannot explain now. However, I ask of you to keep this secret, as Lady Death asked of you when it came to her existence. Please, remember to take care of her, and please, do not let her recede, making her return to the measures she used in Jerusalem all those years ago," he said, a sad look on her face. "What happened?" he asked, slightly scared. 12:04, he said, before a golden door spawned. "I believe my time has come. If she loses it, please be patient with her, not even my father was exempt from making mistakes," he said, ruffling his hair before getting up and heading to the door. "Wait, Lucifer," he said. "I had a dream where I was sort of dressed like you, and I served a woman who looked like an anime character. Is that a dream or something else? Even the most unlikely of dreams and realities can come true, young Issei. Just, don't tell anyone else about this," he said, before crossing the golden door and vanishing. Isaka's tea room, Yasaka Shrine. "Issei, are you alright?" Gabriel asked, shaking him multiple times. Upon awakening, he was scared, needing answers to see how bad the date was involving heaven. Getting up and quickly leaving, he teleported to the library, greeted by Richard, the keeper of the library who had formerly served Uriel. "Issei, what's the rush?" he asked, looking at the White Dragon Emperor. "I need any and all information involving the year 1204, he said, making the librarian raise an eyebrow at him. "Are you sure?" "I do not think you want to know," he countered, only for Issei to become uncharacteristically serious. "There are many things we do not want to know, yet we must savor the bitterness of reality. The longer I go without knowing, the higher my disappointment may be, if it is disappointment," he said, only for Richard to point to a section of books. Making his way there, he eventually found a collection of books titled The Crusades. As he kept on searching, the details concerning 1204 were quite vague, increasing his curiosity. Rushing towards First Heaven, he made his way to the Spades building, only to find it empty. Spawning the flaming sword, he opened a portal to warp to Sixth Heaven, trying to find Michael. He found him in his room. "Issei, you are supposed to be in Kyoto, what happened?" he asked, concerned. "Michael, I have a question involving Gabriel," Issei asked, as Michael motioned him to take a seat. "And that would be?" he asked, still concerned but wary, for it was his sister of all people. "What did she do in 1204? This question shocked the Seraph, for little to no people knew about this. "Issei, I don't think I should. Please, I need to know. First of all, who told you about this? To counter your question, I ask of you the following. This stays between you, me and her, understood?" he asked, his eyes briefly glowing red before returning to their original color. "Yes. Now tell me, who told you this?" "Lucifer himself." "How?" "I believe it is something similar to the sacred gear and its past users, an effect involving the flaming sword. Maybe it has to do with also being able to access the former users of the sword. It doesn't sound too far-fetched, given the power the heavenly dragons once had. Returning to the matter at hand, I believe it is not in my place to tell you. Please return to your room, I will notify Gabriel to tell you as soon as she returns." "Yes, Michael," he answered, making his way back to the room he and Gabriel shared. Once he left, Michael sighed as he rubbed one eye with his thumb and the other with his index and middle finger. It was only a matter of time. A few hours later. Appearing in a golden cross, Gabriel had returned in her Seraph outfit, looking at him. "Issei, why did you leave all of a sudden?" she asked, resting a hand on his. "Gabriel, what happened in 1204? he asked, shocking her. "The Crusades, dear. What happened in 1204, what did you do?" "Issei, I've done some things I'm not proud of. You see, I at one point had a hand in the crusade, the fall of Constantinople to be precise." "That's not the reason you feel guilty, is it?" "No. Issei, I killed men, women, even a few children, all because they had desecrated the churches, stolen countless relics, among other heinous deeds. I lost myself in my rage." "Why?" "I get the fact that they stole from you, but as a seraph you must set an example. You and the others taught me to not give in to the 7 sins, yet you easily gave in, trying to justify your actions," he said, shocked. "Issei, please don't," she said, her hand shaking a bit. "I also get the blinded by rage part, but why didn't you tell me? When I set my secrets on the table, which were hardly any, I saw you doubt yourself a bit, but I quickly shrugged it off. I know it's a lot to ask of you but..." "Quite," she exclaimed, slapping him and knocking him down. After a while, she regained her composure, only to realize what she had done. "Issei?" she asked, getting on a knee and gently shaking him. "Issei, wake up," she said, still not receiving an answer. No, she exclaimed, carrying him to the medical wing of heaven. Watching her fellow angels take him in, she sat down and began to cry, the mistake sinking in. 1. 3. Issei subconscious. Where am I? Issei asked, rubbing his eyes as he took in the surroundings. Last I remember, I had questioned Gabriel about 1204, something about Constantino. He drifted off, finally beginning to recognize the environment. Several red banners with a black emblem, outdated vehicles that looked fresh out of the factory, yet in this city, there were no signs of life, despite the good conditions the buildings were in. Sadly, fate had other plans for him, for a bright red object began flying towards him, and it was here that he realized it was a person. "No, not this," he said, as he got ready to run, only for the stranger to stop several meters in front of him. "State your name and sacred gear, child," the figure said in an authoritative voice. "Issei Haidu, current White Dragon Emperor. By the looks of it, you are the Red Dragon Emperor, but why does everything look like it came from an old movie?" he asked, spawning his wings. "Wait, where are we? When are we? Everything looks so old yet." "New. It is because it's new," the figure answered, his armor vanishing. It was here that Issei was somewhat frightened. Brown uniform, combat boots, and a red band on his arm. However, it was in his eyes that he saw the dominance this man presented. "No. Yes. I am Adolf Hitler, this generation's Red Dragon. You, however, are not my White Dragon. Waiting room, Silver Infirmary, Heaven." "Isaka was displeased when she heard about your incident involving Issei," Michael said, sitting across from her as the two were in the waiting room. "Not now," Michael covering her eyes with her hand. "To make matters worse, Amaterasu said that even if she were to meet with Heaven, it would not involve you, preferring to meet Issei alone. Best case scenario, Dulio or Griselda would be the ones going unless we send Marana," he added, resting his hand on her shoulder. "Sister, I understand what you are feeling right now, but you must let him rest. Aside from being in a coma, there is something going on with him. We do not know when he will wake up, if he will wake up. If he does, do not expect him to treat you nicely right off the bat, and if he does not remember, you will eventually have to tell him." "Yes, brother," she said, before Raphael arrived. "Issei is in a stable condition, you may visit him. However, he is in a catatonic state to be precise," Raphael said, before leaving. "What do we do now?" she asked, her hand shaking. "We wait, hoping he recovers," he answered, getting up and leaving. Now alone, the female Seraph began thinking, fearing that she left him in a state beyond recovery. Quickly getting in to check on him, she saw that he was sitting in an upright position, his back resting against a pillow. However, a metal collar appeared on his neck, 3 chains attached to it. She then saw as the chains were connected to the wall behind him and the floor that was at his left and right. To make matters worse, she saw him in a straitjacket, a horizontal line above his eyes, as if someone cut off the upper part of his skull. Finally, there was a metal piece over the line that had a screw on top and on the bottom, serving as a seal of sorts. She began to cry as she looked away, for she saw that there was an implication that he had been lobotomized. When she turned to see him again, she saw him as if nothing happened. No chains, screws, nothing, as if it had all been an illusion. Getting up and leaving, she called it a day, leaving him to recover. Axis Germany, DXD3, Issei's Mindscape. In conclusion, we must protect Germany, one of many countries and factions threatened by Heaven and its allies. Issei asked, as the two enjoyed a game of cards as the two enjoyed a cup of coffee. "Precisely, we have decided to risk it all and end them when they arrive. I despise using such terms, but hopefully, we shall be able to defeat them. It is understandable. In my case, I am in a world that is not mine, and therefore, I cannot guarantee a result involving this war. Are we going to face the leaders head-on?" Issei asked. "Yes, we will have the support of the Grigori and the Westboro Baptist Church to cover us while we take on the main threat. How long until we face them?" "A few weeks. In the meantime, tell me about yourself," the Führer said as he dealt the cards, his hand consisting on the 9 and 7 of diamonds, and a 9, 2 and Queen of spades. As for Issei, his hand consisted on a 5 and King of diamonds, an 8 of hearts, a 6 of spades and a Jack of clovers. "I'll have 4 cards. That aside, what do we have at our disposal?" Issei asked, no hints of malice nor bloodlust in his voice, as he threw 4 cards onto the table, as he was dealt the same amount. Weapon-wise, a few Dragonslayer projectiles, as well as several light swords and light eaters. "I do hope you understand, but my personal arsenal is one I would like to keep a secret," he said, throwing 3 cards into the small pile. "I'll fold," the angel said, before gathering the cards and shuffling before dealing 5 for each. However, a portal appeared, and from it came 2 women, one being Lady Death, while the other had clear skin and blonde hair. "Would you mind 2 more players?" Death, only to get the attention of the 2 men. 22 Acacia Avenue, London, DXD2. Before Issei's poker session with RDE3. Of the many things one would find in London, a brothel was not to be expected when one thought about this European city. In the main room was a beautiful blonde woman among the many men and women there. A black crop top of sorts with two straps making an X on her abdomen, black shorts, fishnet leggings, biker gloves, a black trench coat that reached her ankles and was open in the front and was rolled just below her elbows, a pair of black circular sunglasses and knee-length high heels to finish off her look. However, her phone vibrated. Checking out the notification, she quickly made her way into her room, turning on the computer screen. On it, she saw a dapper teenager with his left eye glowing red. "Hello Charlotte, long time no see," he said, smiling. "What is it, Lucifer?" she asked, sighing. Now, that is no way to talk to an old friend, is it? First of all, how's the brothel?" "Doing fine, why do you ask?" "Just making sure everything is alright in London, of course. That aside, I have a favor to ask of you, just a little favor I'm cashing in from the 80s, he said, showing a devilish grin. "Does it involve your kid?" "Yes and no. Issei was kind enough to let take over for our conversation, but it is not this Issei that concerns me. You see, there is another in a land you are all but familiar with. While it is much like ours, it is not. I've sent a seal to your phone so you could print it out. When you arrive, you will reach a throne room with a pale woman dressed in black. Show her the medallion and tell her to guide you to Issei." "Anything else?" she asked. "Not at all, I've already sent Kateria to watch over your women while you're gone. Any questions?" "Why do I have to be with the kid?" "We need him alive, all will be explained in due time," he answered, no longer smiling. "I assume it has to do with your superior?" she asked, chuckling. Yes it does." "Okay, I'll be on my way," she said, before turning off the screen. After printing out the seal, she grabbed a shotgun that was in a drawer and proceeded to go to the garage. Mounting a black chopper bike with a yellow-eyed skull as a replacement for the front light, she created a portal with a seal by projecting a light beam with the skull, quickly going through said portal. "Axis Germany, Issei's mindscape. Now. Mistress, what brings you here?" Issei asked, taking a knee and kissing her hand. "A few things, actually. For starters, I had to make sure you were safe. In theory, you are, but you are in your mind, nothing more. Oh, and feel free to call me by my name, by dear," she said, petting him before he stood up. "So, none of this is real?" he asked, looking at her. "Well, it is. You see, I used Gabriel's temper tantrum as a smokescreen to put you in a coma long enough for you to be in contact with me and meet a friend of mine via Lucifer, as well as helping you access the multiverse with an array of versions of you. Also, I apologize for Lucifer's unexpected visit," she said, wrapping her arms around him. "Excluding a secret found out, no harm done, Lady Death," he said, wrapping his arms around her. "Oh wait, where are my manners? Adolf, this is Lady Death, the entity of death. I don't really know about the multiverse concept and I think you're in the same boat I am Adolf, but we'll have time for that. Is there another reason you are visiting?" "Well, Lucifer sent her to me. As for the final reason, which was now, I found myself tempted to play poker with you," she said, making her way to the table and spawning a comfortable armchair she sat in. "Then so be it," Adolf said, motioning the lone angel in the room to deal two more hands, Charlotte seated at his left, Death at his right, and the German leader across the White Dragon Emperor. "Let me explain my role in all this, kiddo. I was sent here by Lucifer to take care of you while you were out of it," she said. "That aside," he said something about stopping heaven. "Once we finish up here, we'll go to your world, where I'll stick around for a while," Charlotte said, her hand consisting on the 9, 8 and ace of clovers, the 7 and 5 of diamonds. "I'll take a card," she added, throwing the ace and getting a card from Issei, who was the dealer. "I will inform you of the situation of my nation in due time, for now I will take 3 cards," the German said, tossing 3 cards before being dealt the same amount. "But that's somewhat taken care of, shall I explain the multiverse a bit better?" the entity of death asked, looking at the 3, only to be answered by Issei, after she also got rid of 3 cards. "Yes please," he said, discarding and drawing 4 cards. "I'll fold," Adolf said. "Likewise. No point going further. It seems that I've won this round," the biker said, smirking as she showed her hand, which was none other than a flush completed thanks to the 6 of hearts, earning a groan from the other 3 beings due to their bad hands. After gathering the cards and shuffling them, the blonde began handing out cards until they each had 5 cards. "So it seems," Adolf commented, discarding and drawing 4. "Now, in a nutshell, there are alternate worlds that, believe it or not, exist. Why do I say this? Well, there are worlds for just about everything, but I cannot allow myself the luxury of going from dimension to dimension," Lady Death explains, discarding and drawing 3. "I assume that is where we step in," Issei said, also discarding and drawing 3. Charlotte said nothing and threw in 2, drawing the same amount before revealing her hand, the highlight being a pair of queens. Adolf smirked as he showed off a pair of aces, making the others sigh as they showed their hands, Death's main asset being a pair of sixes, and Issei having junk. Before we begin, I have a simple way of going through this. There will be 4 tiers involving these alternate dimensions. The gray ones are those that have yet to be defined, green for the safe ones, and those we are allied with, yellow for the ones that may present a risk or are currently being negotiated with, and red for the ones that must not be visited under any circumstances, understood? She said. Earning nods from the 3 of them, she then continued. We will each have our way of tracking which worlds have been visited and by who. Also, we will be able to see who is in what world. Without much left to say, the 3 of you are dismissed, she finished. But mistress, I'm in a coma, Issei commented as she spawned a portal for Charlotte, who walked through it after giving them a wave. Not anymore, the entity of death said, smiling as she flicked his nose, enveloping in a black aura as he vanished. Infirmary, heaven. Huh? Issei asked, looking around as no one else was there, save for a Chinese man who was wearing a suit, a cane in his hands. Ah, I see you have awakened, the man said, getting up. Who are you? How much time has passed? Oh, just a friend of someone who wants to meet you soon. As for the date, it has been a little over a week, the stranger says, smiling as he extended his hand over to the angel. Issei Haidu, this generation's White Dragon Emperor and Gabriel's Joker, Issei said, extending his hand. Martin Lee, owner of the FEAST Charity Center, the now identified man said, sending a small jolt the angel did not feel. Quickly getting up and leaving the room, he made his way out of heaven, but not before telling the doctors that Issei had awoken. Issei. I have so much to say to you. Gabriel said, rushing in. However, she covered her mouth with her hands as both of his eyes were glowing red, a demonic smile on his face. Oh Gabby, you have screwed up on a major scale. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys, before you go just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.